So some exciting news for Vaultbreakers. Its next open beta is coming out on April 9th, and this seems to be bringing some big changes to not just gameplay, but some quality of life improvements as well. And if you're wanting to give it a try, make sure you get in quick, as it's only going to be here until April 13th, which is only 5 days. And from what they've said in a Q&A, which I'll be touching on in this video, is it could be a while until the next one. But don't worry, in the next few minutes I'll be giving you guys all the details we have on this new beta, as well as to what could be coming in the future. And if you're new to Vaultbreakers, don't worry, I do have a beginner player guide that's here on this channel. I'll put a link to it down in the description. It gives a brief overview of the basics of the game, as well as a detailed breakdown of each of the game's champions. So if you're wanting to hop into this beta and make the most of it, that is a quick way to get the basic understanding you need so you know exactly which character to play to get right into the game. But for those of you who don't know, Vaultbreakers is a top-down asymmetric extraction looter game. It takes the feel and combat of a MOBA like League of Legends and merges it with the gameplay loop of an extraction game like Escape from Tarkov. In the last test, we only had access to 2 zones, Wolf's Blood and the Refinery. Now after the beta concluded, they gave a dev Q&A, and one of the biggest common denominator pieces of feedback that they were given is that the Refinery should be more difficult, and they plan to do exactly that. Also, he gave some insight on how they plan to do the difficulty scaling in the game moving forward.
Internally, we talk about 4 difficulty steps, tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, and intended to have that, for instance, all of these on Wolfswood, but very few tier 4 territories. One of the later maps might mainly be tier 4, and the Refinery might not have tier 1 difficulty, and so forth.
So what this tells me is that we can expect the next test to ramp up the difficulty in the second zone, Refinery, as well as this mysterious new Mage Tower area that they hinted at in a teaser trailer that was just released on their channel. Now, we don't have much information about the Mage Tower as of yet, but from looking at the trailer, it does look to be an additional explorable area within the Wolf's Blood zone. So the Mage Tower is this new area for us to discover and explore. With little details on it, I think it would be reasonable to assume that there's going to be some new loot in this area, but what we do know is that from the brief footage in the teaser trailer, we can see that there will be a new boss to fight there called the Soul Devourer. There's also going to be some additions to combat as well with the introduction of activatable items. It's unclear how we will be obtaining them, but from the looks of it, it seems like they're going to be similar to the summoner spells in League of Legends. However, they are actual items that you'll have to place on your bar, so this may allow for more flexibility in which ones you're able to take. And with this being an extraction looter game, most likely you'll be able to craft these items as well as pick them up from fallen enemies or even drop them when you die. And depending on how readily available they are, will play a big factor in when you choose to take them and how effective they'll be in combat. They also said in the Q&A that we can expect this beta to be more experimental, and with the changes in the difficulty and new activatable items, this seems to be exactly what they meant. And speaking of experimental, another thing that was touched on in the Q&A but not mentioned in the teaser was the addition of a solo queue. Now, depending on who you are, this could be a big feature you've waited for, or something you'd rather not even be in the game, which could be why it wasn't mentioned directly in the teaser trailer. So it's still unclear to me whether this beta will have a solo queue or not, but it definitely looks to be a feature that will be coming to the game at some point or another. Now that's the biggest changes that look to be coming, but there are a few more minor additions that we can also look forward to. For one, there will be explosive barrels that you can interact with during combat. From the footage, we can see that you can push them towards your enemies and then attack the barrels to explode them. Now, if I remember correctly, the game already had exploding barrels, so this seems to mostly be a change to the ability to move the barrels, which honestly doesn't seem like a noteworthy thing to mention to me, but maybe I'm wrong. This could be a huge addition that really changes up the feel of combat, but I honestly doubt it. And I'm sure I'll be eating those words when somebody throws a barrel at me during the next playtest. Which reminds me, I plan to be streaming this Saturday, April 12th, between around 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you're still not sold yet on the game, but you're curious enough to come and see what it looks like, come stop by and check it out. I'd appreciate it. And now, another small but welcomed addition is the voice acting to NPCs. This seems to be just basic greetings and lines for when you interact with the various NPCs in the main hub.
Greetings, champion.
How fares your journey?
I am the best gadgets.
Experiment time! See you later!
I'd be interested to see if they'll go so far as to add voice acting for the quest, but I really don't think so, at least not just yet. Now, this isn't a game-defining change, but it's just another small change that'll help add a lot of personality and flavor to the NPCs and just make the game feel a bit better and more polished. But now, a more notable change is the upgrade to the inventory management system. This seems to be allowing you to organize and filter through your inventory a bit better, which will allow you to prepare for your next match more easily. And another question they had was about the camera and if there were plans to be able to zoom out more. Now, the developers said that they are looking at camera options but are weary about letting you zoom out even further, which to me is very understandable with the type of game that this is. it would basically become mandatory to zoom out as far as possible, even if you didn't like the feel of it. And with it being an extraction game, you really want to maintain that feeling of intensity in the moment-to-moment gameplay, which, for example, is why when you're looting a chest, your field of view is actually lessened with the fog of war closing in around you, so you can't see further past where you are. He went on to reiterate the camera pan option that was added in the last beta, and that they have new ideas for changes to the camera in the future, but we really shouldn't expect any huge differences in this beta. And now, as far as the future goes for their betas, in the Q&A, the developer mentioned that they aren't committing to any special cadence for beta content. They've had an average of 5 to 7 weeks between tests in the last year, but mostly they just want to let us know when they'll be doing a test, and that they generally want to do a test when they feel like they have a huge increment, and that their next test may take a little bit longer as they are bringing out a new feature that is very important. They want to make sure that they are delivering the things they want before they do the test, which I agree with completely. This game already feels great as it is, and the more time that they take to add in the features they are wanting and continuing with the polish and quality of life improvements, the better chance this game has at really being a big hit when it finally does come out. So I'm happy waiting for them to make sure they get things right and not just rushing into another beta when it's not ready yet. But that's pretty much it for what we can expect in this beta and some of the stuff that could be coming in the future. And again, if you're interested in checking it out, please stop by this Saturday, April 12th, where I'll be here pretty much streaming the game all day. And if you enjoyed this video and at all found it helpful, please consider giving it a like, as it helps me out on this channel a lot, as well as subscribing if you want to see future updates on what's going on with Vaultbreakers. But that's pretty much it for this video. I appreciate you guys checking it out, and I'll talk to you again at a later date and time. See ya.